What's good, people? What's good, people? This is Big Rich from the Big Rich Live on the Mic Radio Show. Welcome to this episode of What's the Real Deal? End of the week, y'all. You know how we do. Let me first say to anybody who don't really know, because, don't follow me on Twitter. I don't know why you don't follow me on Twitter, because I'm always on Twitter. It's capital B, capital R, live on the mic. Follow me, chop up game with me. But anybody who don't follow me, know that this particular episode was going to be my rant on my sorry ass Knicks, New York Knicks NBA franchise. The original, you feel me? The original team that I followed in all team sports. The second one was the Yankees. Now, I've ebbed and flowed from other teams. When I moved to Florida, I started following the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When I was young, my cousin loved the Dallas Cowboys. I fell in love with the Pittsburgh Steelers after asking my dad which one I should try. Then when I got a little older, got into the military, I started following the Giants and so on and so forth. But all through that time, I've been a Knicks fan. I've been a Yankees fan. So the draft was yesterday, and Phil Jackson, the so-called GM, is just horrible, doing a horrible job. And that's what I was going to do. So I put out some feelers, hey, letting everybody know, whoop-de-woo, this is what we're going to happen. This was going to happen. This is what we're going to talk about. And I got a emphatic hell no. We got serious shit to talk about. So last couple of days, we've had 2 shootings. One they want to call friendly fire. And I was like, okay, friendly fire. So I don't really know what the deal is as far as that concerned. So, we'll see what's happening. I'm actually, while I'm looking around, I'm actually looking around for my notes because I actually forgot the other one. There's so many damn shootings, No, we're not going to talk about the shooting that happened in L.A. Just looking at it, apparently there was some teenager, African-American teenager, had a pit bull. It got loose. It started charging the deputies. They shot, I guess, the dog and the teenager and killed him. I don't know enough about that to converse, to give my opinion. Maybe tomorrow's show, Big Rich Live on the mic. Maybe that show I'll have a lot more information that I can give to you guys. But this time we're going to talk about these 2 shootings. And for the life of me, I cannot remember the second shooting. So we'll talk about the first shooting, and hopefully that will spur me on to find out what the second shooting was. I'm just having a mind blank. And I don't want to use a curse word because I'm probably going to be cursing somewhere down here, somewhere down the line. So I'm trying not to curse. So I'm having a mind blank, okay? Or mind dump, that type of stuff. Okay, what we're going to talk about is this friendly fire, what they're calling friendly fire shooting that you guys sent me yesterday. It happened in St. Louis. Apparently, there was some type of vehicle pursuit, right? And it had culminated in the neighborhood, like really close to a African-American off-duty's home, right? So he came out as a police officer does. I don't know how far he's been on the force, 11 years. That's what they said, 11 years. That's still a little bit raw, because I would have did that around that time. But when I got to about 15, 16, 17 years, I would have stayed my behind in the house and been the best witness I could be, unless I saw the suspect either on my property or they was fighting the suspect and the suspect was getting the better of him. And then I still have to think, are they going to think, is there a chance that they might think that I might be part of the suspect's crew or trying to help the suspect? So I might put myself in harm's way, but I digress. So he came out his house. This was at night. He came out his house. I don't know if he had his badge and gun. I'm assuming that he didn't because they didn't say anything about him being armed. As he approaches the people, the cops, they draw down on him, you know, because to some cops, unfortunately, we all look alike. You know, one big black person is just like another one. That's just how it goes, you know. If I piss you off, sorry. You know, if the truth hurts you, then you the one fucked up. See, I told you I was going to curse. See, I told you. So as he approaches, there was two Caucasian officers. They had their guns drawn, not particularly on him. They had it drawn on the suspect because the suspect had crashed or bailed or whatever, and it was actually looking for the suspect. And I'm assuming that the suspect was a black male. Okay, so we got that so far. So as he approached them, he didn't run. You know, he was talking to him. He's trying to engage him. Hey, what's going on? Is there anything you need help with? You know, whoop-de-woo. Plus, you know, if me, even though I'm a retired cop, if I see a bunch of patrol cars flying down my block and they stop in my block or around the corner, I might go see what's going on, especially if somebody done bailed out. It might be a gun. I need, you know, a gun somewhere in there. It might be an armed carjacking or something like that. Then I might need to know if there's a suspect loose in my neighborhood. You know, I got guns and stuff in my house and all of that type of stuff. Not to per se help them or come out of retirement to be a cop. It is just knowing that something is happening so you can protect your own. You can protect your home, your cars, you know, your person, yourself, you know, your family, that type of stuff, right? So I may or may not, I don't know. So he goes in there. They initially don't recognize him. They draw down on him, make him lay down. Okay. I still don't have any problem with what I'm just saying right now, you know, prior to now. He tells them, hey, I'm a police officer. He identifies himself. I don't know if he had again, I don't know if he had his badge, his gun or whatever, but they initially don't recognize him because you got that tunnel vision, especially if you in that OODA loop. Especially if you're in that loop, you're hyped. You know, they don't recognize him, right? So they tell him to lay down. He identifies him, but he still lay down. Anybody who knows if a cop has a gun towards your face and tell you to lay down, it's best that you lay down, even if you're in the wrong. You know, excuse me, even if they're in the wrong. You feel me? The reason I say that is because you're not trying to get shot for disobeying that order, especially is a hyped up, amped up situation. So he does that. He lays down. Well, during the conversation, during this whole thing, they recognize him, you know, either by sight or he may give them his employee number or he, you know, they get on the radio. Hey, anybody, do we have an officer such, employee number such and such? Yeah. He cool. He 10-8. He one of us. Okay. They tell him to get up. So he gets up. Another Caucasian officer comes out of nowhere, like a bat out of hell, comes up, don't recognize him, pulls his gun and shoots dude in the arm. You know, not that he was looking to shoot him in the arm. He was probably aiming center mass, but you know, shoot, sometimes, you know, you come in there and you might throw a round. So the round hits him in the arm. And a lot of people are saying, you know, asking me what I think about it. First, I think that the guy's an idiot. I do not think, this is my deal. We as police officers, and again, I'm retired, but I'll always be a police officer. I'll always be associated with my department. You know, I have so many friends and associates and stuff like that. I always tell you, I always will rock with my blue, green, and beige, as long as they're doing the right thing, But if you make that type of mistake, my ex-chief used to have a saying, there are certain things that you can survive and there are certain things that you cannot survive. And that's not the literal sense, that's the figurative sense. You go out and discharge your gun and shoot some innocent person, I'm talking truly innocent person, you should lose your job. This officer should lose their job. Again, it's one of those things. We have my profession, my chosen profession, and again, I said I'm retired, but that's still my chosen profession. I have been a police officer literally half my life, and about 85 to 90% of my adult life, I have been a police officer, okay? When you have somebody that's skittish, that will come up on the scene later, not see his officers, either not see the officers on the other side of the suspect, or see them in that trance, if you will, that they go out and do something stupid where they pull a service weapon and they shoot somebody. You need to lose your job, period. That's the first and foremost. Next day, he should have been put on desk duty. They should have did the internal affair. Well, first of all, they have to do the criminal charges first, right? They need to see if there was any malice of forethought, malicious intent. I don't see it. I really don't. I don't see it. I just think he has shown that he should not be the police. Okay. And again, I tell you all the time, I'm talking about from here to these shows to Twitter. I'm not telling you something that I heard or learned in a book. I did this for 23 years. I've done this. I've been in high-speed pursuits. I've been to calls where gunfire was announced. I've been in fights where people have had guns and knives on their person somewhere. I've been in fields and crowds where shots ring out and you can't run. You have to then drop to one knee, get behind cover, and call out where you think the shots were coming from. And when you find out where the shots are coming from, you group up and you head towards the threat. Another ex-police chief of mine, who is a congresswoman for the great state of Florida, used to say in her speeches that we as police officers run to what other people run from. Period. So if you're that skittish that you can get out your car and forget, either, like I said, either did not see the other two officers or block them out, not purposely, but you blocked them out just because you was in that OODA loop, you was in that trance, if you will, what we call tunnel vision. You don't need to be a police officer. And I'm telling you this, you average it out, 1,000 here, more, 1,000 more, 1,000 less. There's approximately 500,000 police officers in the continent of the United States, right? If you was to truly, I'm talking about truly analyze everybody and put together some rules where you not only have physical fitness, but you have emotional and mental health physicals. I'm not going to say half of the cops would be gone, but a large chunk of the current officers would be gone. They would be disqualified from being a police officer. I'm not going to sit up here and call the white cop a racist, a bigot. I don't know nothing about the person. I'm just not. I mean, I'm not the person that automatically thinks that. Now, did he have racial or bigoted assumptions? Probably. If I had to bet on it, I would bet yes. But I'm not going to say that this person is a hardened racist, like I've heard some of you guys have said to me in Twitter. You feel what I'm saying? So I just feel like, damn, it's a hard pill to swallow. Dude, the officer gonna get paid. He gonna get straight paid. Straight up, he gonna get paid. And the other officer need to be fired. I don't know if the officer needs to be prosecuted because the African-American cop did not die, which is great. It sounds like he's going to be okay. He's dealing with, a bullet in his arm. I don't know if it broke any bones or he'll have permanent, I don't know if he was shot in his strong hand or his gun hand. I don't know anything like that, So we don't know if he's going to have permanent disfigurement or anything like that. But I'm not ready to sit up there and say that this is racially motivated or anything like that. What, or so-called a racist accident. Yes, it could be police brutality. I would be willing to sit back and discuss that. I'd be willing to accept that if that was something that came out. Because again, was the man armed? Now, they're saying that during the chase, during the pursuit, I guess gunfire was exchanged or something like that. So okay, you on a heightened sense, and you should be. But you have to again articulate that this person had a gun, had a knife, put you in imminent threat. And my problem with today's police officers and the way it is administered is that me saying that I was in fear for my life should not be the basis on me doing whatever the hell I want to do. You follow what I'm saying? I mean, it shouldn't. But what I've told people is, and what I'll continue to tell people is, when you as a citizen are on that jury, if you scared of black people, you can understand how the police are scared of black people. And I've always said the overwhelming majority of Caucasian people who are quote unquote have fear of or are afraid of black have never had a black person do something gruesome enough for them to be fear of. Because let me tell you something. I've never had, remember, I told you as a police officer, I've been called the N-word a couple times. You know, I've guarded and protected the Klan and all of that type of stuff during my job. I have never, probably because how big I am, I have never had, other than those occasions when I was in my police uniform, because usually I was arresting them, I've never had a white person come up and threaten me or come up and call me out my name or anything like that. Okay? But that does not mean that I should not fear a certain situation that I might find myself in, being a big black man. You feel me? So, okay, like I said that. But I don't let it affect the way I see other Caucasian people or how I interact. Anybody who knows me and sees my face, I don't care if I'm in uniform or not. I'm very pleasant. And what kills me is that's a farce. It's a shell. I am probably one of the most antisocial people I've ever met in my life. No. There was a cop. I can't remember his name, but he was a cop. He graduated. He retired maybe like 3 years ago, like 3 years before me. And he used to be the type of cat that would just walk down the hall and wouldn't say shit to brother and sister officers. Nothing. I'm like, dude, really? Really? You can't say, give a, little nod or something. He was just fucked up. So anyway, but I make it my business because this is how I was taught by my mom to put people at ease around me. And I'm engaged, and I have a really nice smile, that type of stuff right there. I'm very articulate. I know how to speak. I know how to treat people. I know how to respect people, that type of stuff. But I go out of my way in certain times, which some people might say that's the wrong thing. But I go out of my way to make people, and it's just not white or Caucasian people. It's all people, even fellow African-American people. I just make sure, or do my best to make sure that you are comfortable around me. And then we can move on. You feel me? I just don't want you sitting around here clutching your purse when I walk by, because let me tell you something, Mama, I ain't bragging, but I probably got more bread in my pocket than you do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. So if anybody should be clutching their purse, it might be me. But just really talking about that particular, excuse me, just sit around here talking about that particular case. like I said, I need to see what else is going on. I do know one thing. I know that cop that fired that shot should no longer be a police officer. And I'm not talking about no longer be a police officer on St. Louis PD. He should no longer be a police officer, period. And this is when you have a situation where you should have the FBI, which is a federal branch, have a task force to monitor this. So when you have Darren Wilson, punk ass, when you have this guy Giannis, whatever the hell his name is, you got this guy right here, the Slagers. When they lose their jobs, their name should be flagged on a national database that they can't go to any other municipality ever to become a police officer. Because we don't know if Darren Wilson is sitting around here in some podunk town being a police officer. You have no idea. Some bitch got enough money through GoFundMe accounts to change his identity. You have no idea. The two, I use it loosely, gentlemen from, did it go off? Yeah. From whatever, something in South Florida, like Central Florida to South Florida, where they found out that they were Klan members. They both got terminated. We don't know if if they just moseyed on to another backwoods town and they 1065 and taking calls now. We have no idea. We have no idea. So that's what I'll say on that case. Now, the second report or story, whatever you want to call it, is actually not a shooting. And I actually had to exit stage left real quick and grab my notes because I just couldn't remember it. But the second one wasn't a shooting. It was in Minnesota, the great state of Minnesota. Now, this is the same state that had good brother Philando Castile got executed and murdered by a race soldier who is, as far as we know, will never be a police officer in Minnesota again, which he shouldn't. He's a coward. But anyway, this came out the other day, and this was considered a road rage incident. I don't have the young brother's name, but it was a road rage incident between this African American and somebody else, right? And that other person called the police, and the police responded, and I guess they caught up to the gentleman, right? He was driving a minivan, and you see the dash cam. So he calls for backup, which, hey, if you are following somebody in a road rage incident, you don't know what mentality this person is in. So I don't have any problems. So the responding officer, which I don't have his name, called for some back, and this plainclothes officer, Joe Jasic, something like that. He was is a plainclothes officer for the drug unit. Okay, so he pulls up, and Google it if you want to. I don't play police brutality videos. I don't play any shootings, anything like that. So Google it. Just put Minnesota motorist assaulted. That's it, and you'll see it. The messed up thing is if you do that, you're gonna find that and a whole litany of other instances. But the first one come up is this one, right? So as you see the dash cam, you see this Joe Jisak, who is, to me, a barbarian, a straight race soldier, he is the reason why. And this is just this, I can't even say it's just my opinion. I mean, because I feel that being a police officer as long as I have, my opinion should weigh a little bit more because I've been there. I've done that. You know what I'm saying? Not what he did, but I'm just saying I've done their jobs. I've been in high-speed pursuits. I've been in what they call felony stops, where you know that there's felons in the car, so you set up a setting where you have at least 3 cars, sometimes 5 cars, with everybody taking a particular lane with their guns drawn, and somebody calling each person out of the car one at a time. You know what I'm saying? I've done all of that. I've done all of that. So I feel that when I give my opinion, and the thing is, I'm not even going to finish that thought. I'll say that you guys have pretty much shown me that. You know what I'm saying? That you guys continue to ask my opinion and want to take some of my knowledge, of these situations. That's why I call him a barbarian. If you look at the dash cam, he immediately comes out of his car, which is behind the patrol car. Now, the primary officer, the officer who called for a back, still has not got out of his car to come into the frame. You see this guy, like he running a track meet with his weapon out pointed towards the back of the vehicle as he's approaching the vehicle. First thing he want to say is, and I'm going to use a curse, get out of the car, motherfucker. First of all, dude, what has this man ever done to you? It wasn't a high-speed pursuit. It wasn't a resisting with or without violence. It wasn't an assault on a law enforcement officer. You didn't have to run and chase the person. So why are you so damn amped up in the first place? Why? Why are you so amped up in the first place? So that's the first thing. As he's coming up, he snatches the door out. Now, my thing is this. I'm looking at the charges, and I don't have all the charges, but these charges do not amount to what happened to this man to snatch him out the car. Okay, and I'll get to the charges at the end because I want to give the whole story of what the video shows. Then I'm going to give you the charges that we know. And then I'll see if the conscious community, if the woke ones will sit up there and be like, that's bullshit. But anyway, I digress. So he gets up. He still has his gun out. He takes his left hand off the weapon, snatches the door open. So he snatches the door open, holsters his gun. Now he is attacking this motorist. I'm talking about knee strike. Get the fuck out the car. Get the fuck out of the car. Hitting him with elbows, all sorts of shit. Now, I understand that there's 50 states, and a lot of times there might be 50 different variations of the use of force continuum. The use of force continuum is the amount of force a police officer can use in conjunction or as a reaction to what the suspect or subject does. So the more violent the suspect gets or the subject gets, the higher we can go up on the use of force continuum. But I've seen most use of force is continuum, and they've pretty much been the same, if not a variation or so. Pepper spray might be in this, taser might be in that, or in this state, and it might be in that category in the next state. But you have nothing, which is called presence. That's when I come up to you and I say, hey, can I speak to you? And we just having a conversation. You're free to go. You don't have to answer my question, but we're just talking. That's called presence. That's 0. Then you have soft control. Soft control is when, I put, depending on where it is. Like our spray was on soft control. Then it got moved up. Now I think it got moved down. Put you in an arm bar. That type of stuff right there. That's soft control. Hard control now becomes tasers, it becomes aspartame. Then you have aggressive and then deadly force, and obviously. But there's certain things that you can and you can't. This guy was on fleek from the get-go. So he is on aggressive. Like if it's 5, because if I'm not mistaken, I know I've been gone almost 7 months. But if unless I'm wrong, it's 5 areas. It's 5 sections. He was on 4. The way he was attacking this man, I'm like, for what? What was told? What? And the fact of the matter is, you might say, okay, well, Rich, you don't know. Maybe the victim who called out said that he pointed a gun. Okay, well, then that's how you go at somebody's car if they have a gun? Really? Where's your tactics? If you are stopping a car Let's say I called because I got into a road rage incident and the guy pulled out a shotgun and pointed it towards me. Put out a revolver, you know, went like this with a knife. And then I'm the officer that responded. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a felony stop. I'm going to have that person come out, put their hands up, back towards me. I'm going to lay them out on prone, search him, put some handcuffs on him, put him in the back of the car, and then figure out something like that. Then continue my investigation so that everybody is safe. So he on fleek, he on aggressive, he on number 4. For what? For what? So as you see, and I please Google this tape. So he's, like I said, knee strikes, he snatched. According to the gentleman, he said he didn't even get a chance to take his seatbelt off. All of this time, dude trying to pull him out the car. He's trying to unloosen the seatbelt so he can get out the car because he ain't trying to die. But I tell you this is what I want you to also notice when you're looking at the tape. The primary officer at that time. Now, remember I told you. Let's go back. This officer, Joe, whatever his name is, he on fleek. He runs out, get out the car, motherfucker, all this type. He snatches the door open. At that same time, the primary officer whose patrol car is behind the suspect's vehicle or the subject's vehicle, who initiated the stop, gingerly walked out of his car, across his hood, and then along the right side of the car. Slowly. He didn't have his gun drawn. He wasn't. Now, again, a lot of people could say, well, damn, maybe he's a bad officer. Maybe he is. But he didn't have his gun drawn. He wasn't in a hurry. He was probably going to conduct an investigation and find out what the hell's going on, like any normal cop should have. What your training should have shown you. But all of this is going on. You see him then double back, make a U-turn from the right side of the subject's vehicle, come all the way around, and then they take the guy to the ground. That's another officer who should lose his job. These are officers. These are people. I'm not even going to call them officers anymore. These are people who give my profession a bad name. I'm going to get to, before I say what else I was going to say, I'm going to tell you what the charge that we know. Tailgating, swerving, making gestures, making gestures from a vehicle, closing at a high rate of speed, and a few other charges. None of them are felonies. There was no, at least according to the reports that I got, there's no resisting arrest. There's no battery on a Leo, which is law enforcement officer. There's no assault on an officer. There's no aggravated assault or anything like that on the subjects that called. None of that. None of that. First and foremost, Joe should lose his job, period. But he won't lose his job. He might get put back on plain clothes. He should lose his job. That's another thing where, okay, we saw the dash cam. You going on desk duty, and after all of this shit is done, we terminating your ass. So either you can quit now, or you could just wait for the termination. It's one of the two. It's one of the two. It is stuff like that. And what pisses me off, because I did it too, remember, I said, and I did it too, is good cops say nothing. Nothing. They don't sit around and be like, that's some bullshit. That cop does not need to be in my profession. Period. I suffered from that. Not saying that, because again, I've said I was in a pretty good department. I mean, yeah, there was some shit that went down, and me being so antisocial, there's probably a lot of shit that went down that I really didn't even know about. You know, I mean, that's just, I did my own thing. When I got semi-promoted, I worked and make sure that everybody within my sector was safe and they was doing the right thing. You feel what I'm saying? That's pretty much it. That's just how it rolled. That's how I rolled. That's how I read. That's how I rolled. Damn. But you don't say nothing. It's quick to just be silent. Just silent. I know there's some officers. I know there's a bunch of officers, white, black, Spanish, whatever, is looking at that and was like, he is full of, what the hell was going on in his mind? This is the thing that gives us all bad names. This is why people don't like, this is why people of melanin do not like or trust the police. We're not even going to go into, in Seattle, the lady calls saying that, what, less than 100 pounds or 109 pounds, something like that, pregnant, 4 months pregnant at least. She calls the Seattle Police Department saying that there might be a burglar. They come to her house and shoot her because she got a knife. Where's your tactics? Where's your compassion? You feel me? But yet and still, my wife showed me this morning before I went to the job, before I went to the office, she showed me this morning where 2 cops, and I don't even know where it was, on Facebook, this guy is straight up fighting with them. It almost looked like a clown show. He was pushing and grabbing and trying to get, convulsing and trying to get out of their grasp. No, not one time did anybody pull out a weapon, taser, spray, ass baton, and hell no, not a gun. It gets to be so bad when you can sit up there and be like, okay, yeah, well, the cops just shot somebody else. Oh, was they black or brown? Yeah. Hey, somebody just acted freaking stupid and the cops had to talk him out or talk him down, or they just wrestled him down, or the suspect had a knife or a gun and they just talked him down for hours and he finally gave up. Oh, was the subject white? I guess the subject was white. And it's funny. I know I get backlash, but that's fine. It is what it is. I mean, I'm a big boy. Ain't nobody gonna kick my ass, so I'm not worried about that. But it's just funny how things, you know, time after 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 time. It don't matter where you are in this country. It is a contradiction. It is a contradiction. It is, if you're black and brown, you get treated this way. If you're Caucasian, you get treated this way. It's just bullshit. It really is. It really, I've said this before when we were talking about the Philando Castile trial. Ain't no justice, you know, ain't no justice for a certain group of people. This is how it is. You know, you're gonna get backlash and people are gonna try to clap back and all that, but you know, the proof is in the pudding. So if you want to sit up there and say that, you know, we always race baiting, everything is always about race in this country. Whether you believe it or not, everything is always about race. But when a certain group of people actually bring it up and shine light on it, they race baiting. They're the racists. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. We all know what it is. You know, and it's funny how somebody had told me, this was a colleague, this was years ago, when I had said, oh, well, you know, if it was a white person, they wouldn't have got treated that way. It's like, why you always say that? I said, first of all, I don't always say that. But the reason you say that is because look at this situation right here, and then look at that situation right there. The only difference is that this person went to jail, or this person got his ass kicked, or this person got killed. That person went to jail or went to the hospital, lived. They did the same shit, but it's a different responses. Or, which even makes it worse, is the other person was worse. So the Caucasian suspect did a whole hell of a lot worse to the police than the African-American suspect, but the Caucasian suspect is taken in, is talked down, but the African-American suspect is treated harshly, sometimes killed. Come on now. I mean, goddamn. I mean, be real about it. But you know, a lot of people ain't gonna be real. But those were two separate situations where both officers should be terminated. They should be fired. The first one in St. Louis, again, like I said before, and I'll say it in closing, I'm not too sure if there should be criminal charges. I need more information. I wouldn't be discouraged if there was criminal charges on this fool in Minnesota, because he just went jack stupid. But there won't be any charges, but he needs to lose his job for sure. He needs to lose his job for sure. It reminds me of the Oklahoma case. This was probably about 4 or 5 years, where you had the billionaire, the millionaire, the white guy who, just living vicariously through, always wanted to be a police officer. So he had donated to the sheriff's campaign and was good friends with the sheriff, so the sheriff would let him ride, and he messed around and shot the brother in the back. Now, he was convicted, and that's cool, but I bring this up to talk about the other Caucasian deputy who was full-time, looked like a neo-Nazi or a skinhead. This guy is sitting there. First of all, you got your you got your knee with all of your weight on this man's head and neck area, and his head and neck area is on the ground. He's telling you he can't breathe. You say, fuck your breath. Fuck your breath. So what? That type of shit. Not even knowing that this dude just got shot in the fucking back. Anything ever happened to them too? Nope. At least they should have lost their jobs. So what I say is, be careful out here, because it ain't fair. It ain't always fair. You got to keep your wits to you, or wits about you, excuse me. You got to keep your wits about you. You got to stay safe. You got to keep that anger intact. The worst they could do is give you a ticket for speeding, or give you a ticket for your tail light or whatever. Get your ticket and keep it moving. If it's something that you feel is a violation, get a lawyer and sue their ass. You know what I'm saying? That's just basically what it is. You follow what I'm saying? But keep your wits with you, about you, and go home safe. So this was a long show. What's that? Well, I don't want to say, 40 minutes, something like that. So in the meantime, in between time, stay woke. I shouldn't say stay woke. What I say, stay blessed, stay safe, always stay woke. Peace, and I'm out of here.